the Artie Lange Show. Joe DeRosa here, and he brought the fire. The fire alarm went off again. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But we'll monitor that for you. Boschetti, stay on top of that.
Artie, we're safe and sound, buddy. No worries.
What are you eating over there,
something.
man? What are you eating over there?
It's even grosser now. Bochetti's gotten healthier, so he doesn't eat like cheese and everything. But now he eats, what do you eat, cucumbers?
I just had some watermelon. It was so good.
Watermelon and cucumbers, and it just I don't know. It does something in his mouth that's disgusting.
He's already doing the lies of like when you diet. It's like, this watermelon, it's so delicious.
No,
I don't even crave the cake anymore.
Oh, you gotta see his face
celery.
when he puts a cucumber in his mouth. It's so gross. You're right. He's totally lying.
No, I'm not lying.
Yeah, that tastes exactly like bacon, I'm sure.
No, but I'd rather have watermelon and bacon for sure. I need that.
That's like when you go to a diner. This kills me. You like go to a diner and you go, "Can I get bacon?" They go, "You want turkey bacon?" It's like, no, I don't want turkey that you cut into the shape of bacon.
Right.
I want bacon.
Right.
Turkey bacon.
Oh, it's disgusting.
I know turkey bacon. I always thought that, even like going to McDonald's for a salad. It's kind of like,
That's ridiculous.
like going to your Coke dealer for a 5-hour
How about when
energy
you go?
drink.
How about when you go into a McDonald's and you see someone in line in front of you and they're looking at the darn menu? The menu hasn't changed in 30 years. What are we looking at?
Well, I know
here?
Joe has a
It's
half an hour on that, right?
cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Joe's one of those
drives
comics
me
has a
nuts.
half an hour on that.
You can't. I stay away from McDonald's. Gavigan has covered it, and I say that respectfully. I think it's
absolutely.
hilarious.
No, yeah,
But
he has. Some comics have covered everything, right? Like airports. I think Seinfeld's thoroughly covered airports.
Yeah, I feel like doing McDonald's that would be like for to Gavigan it'd be like doing the 7 dirty words to Carl. It's like that's like his thing. Like you can't. He has the best McDonald's jokes. They're funny.
But McDonald's is one of those organizations that it begs to be made fun of at times because of how just
arrogant.
It's the most successful. Do you ever see the Rock and Roll McDonald's in Chicago? You know what I'm talking about?
No, what's that?
Why did it get that name, Danny? It was the busiest McDonald's in the world for a little while.
Right.
And it's right in the heart of the city. And after I played Zanies, like about 11 years ago, I went there late night, and it just I guess there were a lot of bands in there.
Right. The Planet Hollywood is next door, and they have a lot of rock and roll memorabilia.
Yeah,
So-
Really?
And a lot of guys after gigs would go there, and it was kind of like a hang.
Right.
Like an
Cheeseburger,
after,
I
like the hippest McDonald's, like an after-hours club.
They have a cafe on the second floor.
Right.
And they sat up there and drank. And
Yeah.
Well, there's the one downtown. First of all, there's the one in Times Square that I used to call
Yeah.
Fortress McDonald's
It's
because it's like the
unbelievable.
steel walls
It really
and
is
everything.
unreal.
And every seat has that monitor where they tell you the legacy of the guy that started it.
Ray
They leave out the
Kroc,
part where he swindled the people that had
real
the restaurant out
McDonald's
of the
brothers,
restaurant
right,
in the 40s.
Right.
They leave that part out.
Yeah.
But
the people who invented it weren't exactly the best business people.
he sold the milkshake machines, and then he got the restaurants in return.
Good news.
That's what happened.
Way to
Good
go,
news,
Ray
honey.
Kroc.
We're going to be a franchise.
You ever see the one way downtown though, where they serve you?
Oh,
It's
sure,
like
yeah.
I never went there. I was
What do you mean,
always wanted to go
like
there.
a waitress?
It's like a formal dining room,
that
and a
right?
guy comes up with a tuxedo on
Really?
and serves you.
Next
but
time,
it's the same food.
Next time you're in
Right,
Chicago,
same food.
go to the Rock and Roll McDonald's. It's impressive. It's big. But of course we're all eating healthy now. So you just taped a special called "You Will Die."
Well, I did a half-hour special for Comedy
a
Central,
CD, okay.
and then I just did a new album called "You Will Die" that comes out September 3rd is the digital release.
Right.
October 1st is the physical, but September 3rd is the big day, so
That's
it comes
good.
out. And it's
Digital release. It's a new thing.
Yes, yeah, it's the only only
Cool,
store
cool.
now. And there's a bonus. I'm proud of this. I was telling you before we came in, I had to record the album twice because the first attempt at the recording was during the Final Four in Atlanta, where
Right.
the Final Four was happening. So we
Great.
got killed with numbers. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And so I had to go back a month later and record at a different venue, and we got a really great show. But one of the shows from the initial recording, it was the only packed show we had, and everybody was drunk.
Yeah.
And I just was combating a bunch of drunks for
They're
60
unruly?
minutes.
Were they unruly?
Crazy.
Really?
And that's the whole, there's a second disc, and that's the whole second disc is that show.
It's a great idea because it's like those shows are fascinating to people who aren't comics.
Yeah.
Like they want to hear you go nuts. People go nuts and how you handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I left in too, I put a little intro explaining on the disc, like I left in like even when I fall on my face during the show, I left it in. I was like, I'm not gonna make
let
me
it
look
obey.
great.
Right.
Like just
It is what
hear
it
this.
is.
This is how it goes wrong.
No, I had some. My first DVD I put out, I kept some extras in there where I got, it was when I was doing 3 shows a night, and I would start drinking during the first show. So by the third show, just almost in a blackout.
Right.
So it would be the first time I was hearing it. Like, I left parts of some of that in there. No, it's just violent. Like just fighting people in the front row.
I heard some crazy stories about you back during that period.
Oh, yeah,
Like you'd go to a club and you were there the week before, and you go, "What was the craziest thing a comic did?" And they go, "Well, Artie was here."
Yeah, I had a couple of crazy nights on the road, man. I did a late show, a midnight show at the Columbus, Ohio Funny Bone. I was drunk, they were drunk. I did 2.5 hours midnight. I got off stage at 3:15. The woman wrote a note, like starting fights with the crowd. A guy tried to go to the bathroom. I wouldn't let him go. Like the manager of the club wrote a letter to my agent that I asked the agent to frame it. I don't know what happened. It was so funny. It started out, Artie got off stage at 3:30 a.m. for late show. And then there was a pause. It just said, very drunk.
I love that.
So now what do you do? Are you in the process of like writing a whole new act now? After you do something like that, how do you work? You go right back into writing? And...
Yeah, I ditch it pretty quickly. I was in a weirdly lucky position this time. I was working on some bits when I was recording the album and like leading into recording it that I knew weren't going to be the album. And I lucked out where they became what I knew was going to be the 3 tentpole bits of my next hour. I was like, oh, it's going to start here. This will be in the middle. This will be at the end. So then I just had to kind of fill in the 2 sort of like 15-minute gaps.
Right.
And I filled in one of them already, and I'm working on that second one now.
Oh,
so
good.
It was nice where like I'm ready to go with like almost a new hour of stuff as the album comes out, and I don't have to.
It's hard. You have a lot of respect for guys who are able to write like that, because you have a lot of comedians who, and some of the best ever. Jerry Seinfeld toured with the same hour for 25 years. He said, just because you give that away on a special, now you can't use it anymore, and that's how you make a living.
Right.
Jay Leno said the same thing. But there's other guys like Carlin, and who said, look, I'm a comedian, I should be writing, and they would do an HBO special, everybody would see it, so they'd have to write a new hour.
Well, yeah, and that's like from I wasn't doing comedy in the '80s, but that seems like from everything I've seen or read or whatever that was like you said, that was the protocol back then.
Right.
It was like if you were a juggling act or something like that. It was like this was your routine.
Yeah.
And you figured out what worked perfectly for an hour. And then you just went out and you did it. So I'm a big Kevin Meaney fan. Kevin Meaney didn't put a CD out until like 1998.
I know. I love Kevin Meaney.
Yeah.
Well, Don Rickles did his first special 4 years ago. It's the truth. Like he said, this is my Vegas act.
You're right.
He's literally got like, Ernest Borgnine jokes in it. But no, he's got sex stuff with the wife and this and that, and he got a band that he messes around with. And I always wondered the overhead of those guys, because we, this generation, we just work alone.
Right.
Don Rickles brought a band with him. Jerry Lewis brings a full band like Sinatra would.
I know.
That's a lot of money you're paying out, man.
I know. You do some Jewish jokes and you turn to the band, but seriously, folks, now the end is near.
And how many times the band is in on every joke, and they're part of the joke, and how many times, like how bored are they with that bit?
Dude, I'm so happy you said that, because I've always, like, every time I watch one of those things, I just think that's the worst job on earth.
Absolutely.
To be in the band behind the comic,
Waiting.
like in that old school. Because you got to fake laugh at the same jokes every night, and you got to play the same songs. It's just, that's it, dude.
Monotony.
I saw Sinatra when I was about 19 years old. I went to go see him at the Meadowlands, sold out the arena. And right in the middle of the show, there's a pause, and a guy yells out in the audience, hey, Frank, did you ever play hooky in Hoboken? And he goes, I invented it. And like everybody who could hear it laughs, And I laughed. I remember going to say, that's really funny, blah, blah. And there was this guy with us who came with us who was kind of a know-it-all type of guy who like knows everything about show. He goes, oh, that guy's a plant.
Really?
I'm like, really? There's a guy that travels with him that, like, at the right time has to yell out, "Did you ever play hooky in Hoboken?"
Says that one thing.
And I said, so he can say, "I invented it." And I'm going, it was pretty fast. But, I'd like to think that's not true. But if that is true, imagine that guy. He gets up and takes a shower every day. And his job is to say that at the right time.
That's hilarious. I remember I saw Phil Collins in concert once, and when he did Easy Lover.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, this black dude that wasn't there for the rest of the show came out and did the guy from Earth, Wind, and Fire's part.
Yeah.
And then left the stage. And I was laughing with my friend after. I'm like, I feel like they just keep this guy pinned up
Bailey?
in a room
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah,
and then
no.
they're like, all right, get out of here.
Well,
It's your time.
He's the only black guy at a Phil Collins concert, that's for sure. All right,
absolutely true.
we'll take a break, come back with Joe DeRosa right after this.